India is a complex puzzle of cultures and classes, a bubbling stew of religions and political factions on many levels. On the lowest tier of Indian society are the rural villages and tribes. Often overlooked in Christian ministry, they are the incubator for some of the fastest growing Christian populations in India today. One group seeking to serve rural peoples in southern India is Missionary Outreach Fellowship. This mission-oriented group results from a vision given to two couples, the Reverend Charles Fraser and his wife Jenny, and Vijay Prasad Kota and his wife Geetha. Both couples were independently building churches in India when they met and combined their efforts. Mr. Kota, a third-generation Christian, is himself from a rural area where education and advancement were almost non-existent. Reverend Fraser and Mr. Kota toured the town where he grew up, the small Indian village of Ganagapadu in the state of Andhra Pradesh, a place without running water or indoor plumbing to this day.
So this is a very remote village, and since long back my grandparents from this village, where I was born here in this, there is no school at the time. So if we want to do the schooling, we have to go to another place where 10 miles away from here. We used to go there, we study in the daytime and coming back in the night.
Oh, that's
like that we studied.
It's evident coming from this part where you are now.
From this remote area to the America. See how many stages I passed through. How God blessed me in all the ways. So that's why I'm not able to forget God. For that, I'm doing all the things like this. Still, we have to continue until our death. The same spirit. This is our grandparents' house. Where they became the first missionaries. They donated the land and they constructed the boarding halls. And he's the warden at the time.
The warden.
The 100 years back. 100 years back. He's the first convert. This is their house. Please come. This is the basic life. And this is the prayer room, the living room. This is the kitchen come dining room. And they will cook the food like this. Please hold on.
The cooking area.
Cooking area. See how they will cook like this, with firewood. This is the grinder for village. Exhaust sound. This is also constructed by me. My family.
The presence of the parsonage is key, as villages typically have no rental housing, and pastors are sometimes recruited from outside the village. The presence of both a church and a parsonage allows the villagers full access to church services by day and by night. The church property even forms a community area where crops are staged for shipment. It becomes a pivotal place in the growing Christian communities. Missionary Outreach Fellowship supports Christian communities in India in several ways. Working with well-established Indian pastors, MOF provides funding for church construction, supports training for new pastors, and provides tools for ministry, including Bibles, study guides, even bicycles for poor rural pastors, all of which greatly increase their ability to serve the people. Vitally important is the training of new pastors. In many cases, the pastors are new believers themselves, with absolutely no previous knowledge of the Bible or experience living as a Christian. MOF's Reverend Charles Fraser authored a training course for Western pastors that he adapted to training Indian pastors. Working with the Reverend Y. Israel of Hyderabad, India, they translated the work into the local language of Telugu and created a 3-day intensive mini-course to teach the basics of Christian leadership to the rural pastors. Here is a brief portion of one of the sessions led by the Reverend Charles Fraser.
Now God has promised every one of us a better life. The devil does not want us to. Now if we are to inherit what God has for us, we must be willing to obey Him. Now you notice in your lesson here it says, if we are to live by faith, we must not say I am weak.
నీవు కనుక విశ్వాసపూర్వకంగా నీవు జీవిస్తున్నట్లయితే అయ్యా నేను బలహీనంగా ఉన్నాను అనేటువంటి పదాన్ని మనం వాడకూడదు.
Now, that word weak there means incapable.
ఇక్కడ బలహీనత అనేటువంటిది ఏమిటంటే నీలో సత్తా లేనటువంటి సూచన చూపిస్తూ ఉన్నది.
God is saying, I don't want you going around telling yourself and the world, I am not capable.
Although most sessions were for pastors and their wives together, breakout sessions were also run just for the pastors' wives. The demands on the lives of the pastors provide unique challenges for the family. The women's sessions placed a spiritual focus on the work of the ministry, as well as day-to-day domestic life. Beside the teaching, the pastors' wives shared their testimonies and encouragement with one another, building relationships and support among themselves. Like the pastors, the wives are provided with items useful at both the conference as well as at home. Such small gifts can be significant to poor rural families. Since the resources available to the largely impoverished Indian pastors are limited, it is important to provide for their basic needs of food and transportation when bringing them together away from their village. MOF provides the funding not just for the materials, but also arranges to feed the pastors and teachers throughout the day, as well as providing funds to the pastors to pay for their transportation each day to and from the conference. The food is prepared on site using fresh ingredients to provide dishes the pastors are accustomed to eating. Food is an important symbol of friendship and hospitality in India and reinforces the message that God cares for his new servants. Every pastor who attended the conference received a gift of great value, a sturdy commuter bicycle. Each bicycle cost the equivalent of about 2 months' salary for one of the pastors and represents a valuable resource for serving the often widely separated village settlements not served well or at all by any regular public transportation. But the largest gift MOF provides is that of a church building for the new Christian communities. Residences in the poor farming areas are very small, and a home church can accommodate only a very few people. Larger thatched huts can sometimes be built, but in the fast-growing Christian communities, even these are often outgrown quickly. Even economically depressed larger towns are showing rapid Christian growth and require help with a secure church building. Missionary Outreach Fellowship attended the dedication of the 7th church built in India by Mr. and Mrs. Koda and the Reverend and Mrs. Fraser. This is the first church built jointly by them as MOF. The church became necessary because of the rapid growth of the church in the area. In America, we sometimes become more concerned with the form of our churches than with the function of them. In India, having simply a solid structure in which to meet is considered a tremendous blessing. The churches are outfitted very simply, and the congregants sit or kneel upon the floor on mats, with what chairs are available reserved for guests. The dedication of a church, or even the visit by sponsors to a church under construction, can be a banner occasion, both literally and figuratively. The dedication is a time for celebration and feasting, as you can see here. The S.W. John Memorial Baptist Church in Mulakalapalli was dedicated in November of 2008. The original meeting place is now a shed behind the new structure. Reverend Fraser was asked to cut the ribbon and officially dedicate the new church, after which the people filled the new church to pray and attend the various speakers who came to bless the new church. Finally, there was a feast and fellowship time which further solidified the relationship between the Indian and American Christians. MOF also has churches still under construction. The Helen Memorial Shalom Baptist Church in Ganagupad is a rural church on a floodplain. Stout concrete pillars will be poured to support the church's sanctuary floor above the seasonal flooding. A strong wall surrounds the lot where the church is being built and contains the original building where worship was held. Women and children from the village, as well as some builders working on the church, met with the MOF team. In such a subsistence economy, the men must work without fail to support the family, and were not available. The woman seen standing here was the first convert and is a story of faith and hope overcoming adversity. When she returned from a visit to Hyderabad, where she received Christ, the locals of another faith murdered her son to punish her for abandoning the gods worshipped by the majority of the villagers. Despite this, she returned to live in the village and became the core of a Christian movement within the village, a group that continues to grow.
Yes, could you tell me how many people you have here?
30 families. 30 families.
30 families అంటారు 90 మంది ఉంటారు.
Yeah, more than 100.
100 members.
More than 100 members.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Churches in larger villages and towns have also requested aid from MOF to build or expand their churches. Christ Evangelical Church has a good building, but is on a narrow lot that limits expansion, and they must extend the length of the church to accommodate their growing but poor congregation. The Baptist Church at Ballingar faces a similar flooding problem to Helen Memorial, but this one caused by nearby urban construction. The original building was too small, and so a new building was started. During construction, the new flooding problem inundated the original building, and plans were changed to make what was to be the ceiling of the new church the floor instead, raising the sanctuary above the now recurring flooding.